It is time for you to know the law, and joining me now is Rachel Pappy, attorney and partner with Polston Tax Resolution and Accounting. Our subject today is scams in the tax resolution world. And it seems like every other day we're seeing a commercial about some company saying they can help you if you're in tax trouble, and it's overwhelming. What do you believe?
Right, there are a lot of commercials, and I want to tell people some of them are scams.
Okay.
We have a client who came to us who had hired another tax attorney, and this individual had driven out of state to his mother's funeral. He was driving back home, and when he stopped at the gas station to put gas in his car, his debit card was declined. When his debit card was declined, he called his bank and they said, "Your funds have been completely frozen by the IRS, and so we can't release them to you." So here he is stranded at this gas station out of state trying to get back to Oklahoma, and he calls his tax attorney who's representing him. That attorney won't take the call. Calls and calls and calls, tells the receptionist what's going on. And this gas station's even willing to put gas in his car, but the problem is that's only gonna get him to the next gas station and not all the way back home. So he somehow remembers the name of our firm, calls and tells us what's going on. And so we find out there's a fax machine at this gas station. We fax over power of attorney forms. He signs it, sends it back. We send it to the IRS, revoke his old power of attorney. And the immediate problem is just those funds. So we negotiate quickly with the IRS, get those funds released back to his bank account, and get him back to Oklahoma. Well, as we're researching that case, we find his attorney hasn't worked on the case for 4 years. Just filed the power of attorney, and that's it. Hasn't done a thing. Hasn't called the IRS, hasn't filed an appeal. And sometimes with the IRS, there are waiting periods, but in this case, it does not merit it.
So would you consider that a scam or just a really bad attorney?
Right, so both, right? Yeah. So there are, I would say there's a couple things that I see from my perspective that taxpayers just don't know when they're hiring someone.
What do we need to know?
Yeah, so one, if you are hiring someone to represent you, you need to think about what tracking system they have for all their cases. I would say if they're doing a lot of marketing, they probably have a lot of cases. And if they have a lot of cases, they better be tracking those cases, because unlike a case that's in court, there's no judge overseeing all these IRS cases to make sure it's moving forward. The responsibility is on that representative. If the representative doesn't do anything, the IRS doesn't care, because they can just seize your assets and levy your bank account. The other thing I would say is if you have someone who's doing a lot of marketing, I don't have an exact number, but I would say I would estimate any reputable firm with that's doing a lot of marketing should have about 50 employees or more, because I know from our firm we have 85 employees.
So you might want to be a little suspicious if you see a lot of marketing and then you go there and it's 1 or 2 people.
Right, exactly. If they just have a handful of people, they probably have a lot of cases, and if they only have a handful of people, who's really working on those cases? I would also say ask for a list of closed cases. Get some proof. The IRS sends a letter.
Proof of success.
Proof of success. The IRS sends letters on those cases that close. You should look at the dates on those cases that are closed and make sure they have cases that have been closing every month for the last year.
That's good advice. This time of year, you're right, you have to be so careful. What a story. Oh, Rachel, see you and I can talk about this forever and ever, especially this time of year. There are several ways you can get in contact with the Polston Tax Resolution and Accounting, their company. You can go to Facebook, Polston Tax, Twitter @Polston Tax, Instagram, Polston Tax, LinkedIn, Polston Tax, or the website, polstontax.com. Of course, Polston Tax Resolution and Accounting has 5 locations in Oklahoma City, Edmond, Norman, Tulsa, Wichita. You can call them. The number's right there, 801-2146. They're also assisting clients nationwide, so keep that in mind.